Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the hidden architecture of a seriously complex ancient text. We're talking about Surah An-Naml, the 27th chapter of the Quran. We're going to unpack these intricate underlying connections within this chapter that are pretty much invisible to the naked eye. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're about to put the pieces together. So here's the big mystery we're trying to solve today. If you just read through this chapter casually, you're going to bump into a talking ant, the powerful ancient queen of Sheba, and then this seemingly random geological reference to moving mountains. At first glance, these might seem like totally disjointed stories and facts just kind of thrown together. You've got to wonder, how do ants, ancient queens, and moving mountains form one cohesive story? Well, as you'll see, there's actually a brilliant hidden framework holding the whole shebang together. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the context of Surah An-Naml. 2, we'll look at narratives of punishment and mercy. 3, we'll dive into lessons in women's leadership. 4, we'll explore moving mountains and scientific foresight. And finally, 5, the science of textual cohesion. Okay, let's jump right into part 1, the context of Surah An-Naml, the Meccan backdrop. To really understand this text, we have to look at the incredibly tense historical backdrop the sources outline for us. This text was actually revealed during the second half of the Meccan period, and at this specific time, the Prophet Muhammad and his followers were facing escalating, really intense hostility from the Quraysh, who were the elite ruling class in Mecca. Because of all this rising opposition, the text triggers the revelation of historical examples. It brings up past prophets, guys like Moses, Solomon, Salih, and Lot, basically to show how previous nations reacted to divine messages. And then it all culminates in these warnings of the last day. It serves as a direct response to a society that was just deeply engrossed in worldly power. Moving on to part 2, narratives of punishment and mercy, a structural balance. Check out this deliberate contrast in the text. It's honestly like a perfectly balanced scale. On one side, we have these punishment-centered stories. These focus on the destruction of those who arrogantly rejected signs. So we're talking about figures like Pharaoh, the people of Thamud, and Lot's people. But then right on the other side, perfectly balancing it out, are mercy-centered stories. These focus on figures who actually accepted guidance, like Prophet Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The absolute crucial point here is that the text deliberately balances tales of divine retribution with examples of divine grace. It's laying out two very clear paths for the audience to choose from. Next up, part 3, lessons in women's leadership, the sociological lens. Former World YWCA Secretary General Dr. Musimbi Kunyoro points out something really fascinating here. She notes, these newly admired leadership qualities of shared leadership and nurturance and doing good for others are today not only sought after, but also indeed needed. According to modern sociology, the whole domination style of leadership, it's out. Modern organizational theories are now fully embracing the exact traits historically used to keep families and communities together. And it just so happens, those are the exact traits this ancient text models perfectly. And you see this concept played out brilliantly within the text through 2 different queens. Step 1, we have the queen ant. When she sees Solomon's massive army approaching, what does she do? She instinctively commands her workers to get to safety in their dwellings. She prioritizes protecting her people over productivity or, some kind of impossible confrontation. Then, step 2, look at Queen Balqis, the Queen of Sheba. When she gets a letter from Solomon, she doesn't just instantly declare war like her generals are pushing her to do. Actually, she consults her officials, rejects the idea of war, and chooses diplomacy, pointing out that war honestly just brings disaster. Both of these queens embody this highly effective, nurturing, non-dominant style of leadership to protect the ones they care about. All right, part 4, moving mountains and scientific foresight, the geological lens. Listen to this really poetic translation of verse 88 with me. You see the mountains, thinking they are firmly fixed, but they are passing like clouds. Now, for centuries, people read that and just thought, well, that's merely a metaphor for the end of the world. But I want you to pause for a second. Think about what it literally means for a mountain to float or pass by like a cloud, especially when you remember this was written over 1,400 years ago. Well, today, thanks to modern geology, we know exactly what it means. It's describing isosity and the asthenosphere. This is the actual geological principle where mountains literally float and shift on the Earth's softer layer, driven by plate tectonics. Just like clouds float because of buoyancy in the atmosphere, mountains float and slowly, imperceptibly, move across the Earth's crust. I mean, it's a stunning example of an ancient text directly paralleling a modern scientific discovery. Finally, Part 5, the science of textual cohesion, the linguistic lens. For this part, we're drawing from an academic text linguistic research paper by Abul Fazl Hahori, published by ATU Press. His research establishes this fascinating concept of macro and micro cohesion within the text. Basically, he argues that the Quran isn't just some fragmented, chaotic collection of stories like some early critics claimed. Instead, it's an organic whole, completely bound together by intricate semantic and conceptual chains. So, what's the secret glue holding this cohesion together? Well, it's actually a linguistic Easter egg. It centers around the Arabic concept of la yuhnamukum, which translates to trampling or crushing. Remember our queen ant? She warns her colony to hide so they aren't crushed by Solomon's army. Well, Hori's research points out that this single, specific concept intricately binds the fate of those tiny insects to the fate of entire ancient nations. Think about it. Pharaoh's army is crushed by the waves of the sea. The people of Thamud are crushed under the stones of their own sturdy houses. And Lot's people, crushed by a rain of clay. The physical trampling of an ant is linguistically directly linked to the divine trampling of arrogant empires. When you look at it summarized in this table from the academic research, you can clearly see these seemingly disparate stories actually follow a meticulously structured, interconnected framework. Whether we are talking about Moses, Solomon, Saleh, or Lot, every single narrative features a struggle against corruption, the deliverance or reward of the righteous, and specific miracles or signs. The text is quite literally mathematically balanced. Every historical account is conceptually chained to the others, creating one unified macro narrative designed to deliver a very specific lesson to its audience. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We started out looking at what seemed like a totally random assortment of historical and natural facts. But as we've just seen, there is a profound structural unity hiding inside this literature. So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. How does reading ancient texts through the modern lenses of linguistics, sociology, and geology change your understanding of history? Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring this with me today. I really hope this sparked your curiosity to look a little closer at the texts that shape our world.